Start the recording. Switch screens. Okay, so welcome back, guys. I believe this is our 34th session of Ophion, maybe 35th, depending on your numbering scheme. I only have a couple of announcements. The first is we're still looking for our sixth player. If you're looking for the application link to join our merry band here, there is one pinned in the Discord. I believe there is one on Twitter. There's also one on the Star Trek Adventures subreddit. And I think it's also searchable by Roll20 if you do an LFG search through there. I think what I'm going to do for the slot is if we do not fill by 2 weeks from now, so that would be the 11th. If we do not fill by August 11th, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to not close the spot, but I'm going to stop advertising for it. And at that point, it'll pretty much be a, hey, do you know me or do you know one of my players? And we'll do it word of mouth rather than opening it to the public. The other announcement I have is something I've already told my players before the game started, and that this session is going to be a quote-unquote fluffy episode. I thought it was a nice reversal from last week, which was, well, 2 weeks ago, which was pretty much fleet combat and didn't have a whole lot of opportunities for the characters to, well, RP and grow. So we're going to focus a little bit more on that today. Obviously, that could mean a shorter session, or, you guys could spend 30 minutes talking about why Bolians and Cations should be hooking up for whatever reason. Who knows? But unlike past weeks where the captain has done a log, I have a bit of a GM primer. So, to kind of get us all in the mindset. It has been several days since what people are calling the battle for the buoy. The Ophion and her crew have returned to Deep Space Daedalus along with the USS Formidable for repairs. Now, just as a reminder, the Formidable did take some major structural damage to its primary hull, while the Ophion's damage was spread across all three sections. Regardless of this fact, though, both ships are pretty much going to require a full week or possibly longer's worth of work in order to be fully repaired. That pretty much means that both the crews of the Ophion and the Formidable are stuck on DSD for the time being. Now, that said, there are much worse places to be stuck for a week. DSD may be a frontier starbase, but it has all manner of amenities and locales and really just points of interest that provide a wealth of all kinds of entertainment. It really just sort of depends what your poison is, so to speak. And we're going to open up with you all on the bridge. If I can find where the hell I put the bridge map. Okay, I've lost the bridge map. This is embarrassing.
Did we jettison Alpha Section again?
Clearly. There we go. There's the bridge. All right. So, to sort of get the captain up to speed. So, Captain, you have been, for the past couple, I would say probably almost a full week, you have been in talks with Admiral Thesso, a representative from the Romulan Republic, a representative from the Klingon Empire. The Oshiriks were also there in some capacity. And the topic of this, I guess you would call it a summit, has been how the Oshiriks will, I don't want to say capitulate, but basically how they're going to fit into, thank you for reminding me, basically how the Oshiriks will fit into the sort of, I guess you would call it galactic politics structure. Because if you need a reminder, the Oshiriks are extreme range observers in that they pretty much can listen in on a very long range away from their home world. So that sort of intel gathering power is something that is both good if it's on your side, but it is also a cause for concern if it's not something you control directly. And that's kind of what the whole meeting's been about for you, Skull. I would say that the result of the summit is that there has been a very, very tentative agreement. Like, I'm talking, someone could put it on a post and blow it over level of strength. Um, Basically, the Oshiriks are not going to join the Federation proper for at least another couple of years, unless there is some sort of incentive for them to do so. Um, and I'm going to let you fluff that as you wish, but we do start today's scene with Skull returning to the bridge and sort of catching up with his crew.
Commander Panek, when I left command of this vessel to you, I was hoping you wouldn't ruin it so badly. I would have liked it. We just fixed Gamma Section. Now we have to fix it again, correct?
I stand, captain on the bridge.
Apologies. That was supposed to be sarcastic humor and came off a little harsh. Thank you very much for your efforts in command, Commander.
I apologize for the state I returned the ship in, Captain. The Romulans had much to say about my efforts.
Well, if the reports I'm reading are accurate, you had a fairly lengthy and loud response in return. Status of the crew?
Have we received any casualties, or how's their nurse holding up?
Well, your new nurse is able to... How would I have to remember? Where did I put this in my notes? Yes, the good news, there were no, deaths. The worst injuries were pretty much from exploding consoles or exploding EPS conduits, as they tend to be on Starfleet ships. But nothing life-threatening. All of the injuries at this point have been more or less treated, and, you're just sort of in a recovery phase at this point.
The only injuries were to the Ophion, Captain, but we are seeing to them at DSD.
Glad to hear it, Commander. Crews are far harder to replace than a ship. And speaking of which, Murthrin,
there's a brief pause where he's unresponsive and then realizes he's being addressed and says it. Sorry, Captain.
I haven't had a chance to go through your extensive damage report. I only got past the first couple sentences that were pretty much in all caps and panicking. Do you have an estimated time of repair when we'll be seaworthy once more?
It's going to take the better part of a week, Captain.
I see. Well, the rest of the crew's getting shore leave, Murthrin. I'm going to make sure that you get some, all right?
Yeah, and he sort of just nods wordlessly and goes back to his console.
I'm just going to side-eye Panek and raise an eyebrow and just nod at side nod at Murthrin.
My face is impassive, but I kind of give him a very slight nod that I understand.
Good.
Out of curiosity, not to interrupt, but remind me, was Drake introduced while you were here, or did we do that in your absence?
I welcomed him to the bridge, so yeah, I know Drake.
Just making sure.
Yeah. Tactical status, Mr. Drake?
Weapons are green. Shields, other than on Gamma Section, are functioning fine. A little low on torpedoes, but DSD's supplies will refill that.
Very well.
And actually, as you say that, Drake, you do get a sort of status update from DSD, and the quartermaster, who I'll give a name if need be, but the quartermaster is asking whether or not you want either A, quantum torpedoes, B, tri-cobalt torpedoes, or C, all of the above.
Why is that even a question?
I'll finish what I just said and then look down and in very Worf fashion of after giving his report, then going, oh, by the way, Captain, another message just came through. The quartermaster would like to know what kind of explodes we would like on the ship.
All of them?
Very well, Captain, and I'll start sending the report to the quartermaster.
Okay. So the way we're going to handle this, and I'm going to more or less treat this as the honor system. I'm going to say that without burdening you with the useless starship talent, you guys have 5 quantum torpedoes and 1 tricobalt device.
Okay.
I'll keep notes.
Okay.
I'll mark it on the ship.
Alrighty.
That works too.
As long as we keep better track of the numbers than Voyager did.
Oh God, what was it? The total was what, negative 33 more than they had? It was-
Negative 70 they
Oh,
were down
jeez.
to by the end.
Oh, Voyager. Anyway, sorry, I did want to throw that in.
Cool. Yeah, just updating the ship. Mr. Locke, how's our sensors holding up?
Sensors seem to be weren't particularly damaged. It was mostly the hull and engines that took hit, if I remember correctly. Everything's working fine. I did all my diagnostics and realigned the sensors, and I'm good to go in the science department. But just have to wait for the ship to actually be able to fly and connect again.
Fantastic. And Lieutenant Sona, status of helm.
Nothing new to report, sir. The only cause for, I wouldn't even call it concern, sir, is that the beta section helm is showing a small discrepancy in syncing with both alpha and gamma. I believe that to be the result of the damage that the beta section sustained, and hopefully will be repaired by the week's end.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I'm putting you in charge of ensuring that gets fixed.
Of course, sir.
Have I missed anything in my absence other than the giant fleet brawl, Commander?
There are some complications with the Romulans and Klingons that perhaps we should discuss once we reach DSD with the Admiral.
Agreed. This whole four-way diplomacy is turning into a quagmire that only needs one Ferengi to stick its lobe in and the whole thing can fall to pieces.
Funny you should say that, Captain. I had some thoughts regarding the Ferengi.
Oh, that's right. We still have them on board, don't we?
No, they're on DSD.
We did return them after that? Okay, cool. What happened to the creature that we captured?
Oh, you mean
Sima
the
got offloaded to DSD.
Yeah, that got offloaded as well, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the phosphorescent snake thing.
Yeah, that got offloaded.
Okay, good. Just catching my memories. Okay.
And when we return, everyone is turned into necromorphs.
They're in the Jeffries tubes.
Dead Space 1 or whatever it is. Sorry. Yes, Pinek, what do you believe about the Ferengi?
I was approached by them with an interesting opportunity. Interesting, I use the word very generously. However, I believe I could use their offer to request their assistance with the Klingon trouble that we've been having.
I look forward to hearing your recommendation.
They offered us both accounts on the Ferengi banking system.
Sorry, Pinek, you cut out. I heard banking system, and that was it.
They offered us both accounts with the Ferengi banking system.
At what interest rate?
I did not inquire. I tried to move them along off the Ophion as fast as possible.
Wise idea.
However, I wish now to use their offer as an invitation to approach them in regards to finding information about the falsified Klingon sensor logs regarding the Romulan sneak attacks.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, that's right, because the Klingons told us they turned up because a Romulan scout was snooping around and the records look like they were falsified.
No, it was that the Romulans fired on a Klingon scout ship, which caused the Klingons to call in reinforcements.
Klingons with a tactical sense. Rare. I believe that's an interesting avenue that we should explore, Panek. I'd be interested to hear how your investigation goes.
I'll keep you dutifully informed, Captain.
If there's nothing else, I have about an 80-page document to finish reading before we dock with DSD. These Oshiriks have sent over another long list of suggestions for how they could use their tech in an alliance-neutral fashion. I need to make sure that the Romulans and the there's nothing in the text that'll anger the Romulans and Klingons again.
All right.
Very well, Captain.
Commander, you still have the con.
You're reading. And I nod and take my seat.
All right. So yeah, sure enough, getting back to DSD takes, I would say, less than 30 minutes really by this point. You commence docking procedures and, crew begin filtering off as repair crews start to sort of pile on in and start repairing some of the damage. And this is at this point where I literally open up the floor to any bits of RP. I do have some in mind, but I did want to get any that you as players had in mind on either DSD, with the crew of the Formidable, somewhere on the Ophion, whatever you've got in mind.
I have a quick thing I'd like to do with our counselor.
Your counselor, okay. I'm assuming your office, yeah?
Yeah, my office or her office or wherever is convenient for the set to be.
Let's just do it in your office. And you can go ahead and start as I juggle tokens.
Of course. Lieutenant Jiso, thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here, sir. How may I help you?
I have concerns about crew morale after what we've been through the last few weeks. We've got our warp nacelles handed to us on rather spectacularly on 2 occasions by both the Tholians and the Romulans, and I'm quite concerned about Mr. Murthrin for one, but the overall crew morale.
She kind of rubs her chin in thought. To be honest, Captain, I haven't exactly gotten a vibe that the crew are feeling disheartened. If anything, these last few skirmishes have, I guess you would call it, tempered their expectations. Beforehand, I would dare to say that there was almost reckless sort of a feeling of invincibility, a feeling that nothing can go wrong, and that these skirmishes have sort of brought people back down to earth, I believe is the human expression.
That's an interesting take on it. I'm not going to lie, the feeling of invincibility is... I felt that as well when we first took out and had our early skirmishes. But, yeah, we are certainly not the most powerful ship in the Federation, nor are we the most powerful ship in the galaxy, in the Alpha Quadrant anymore. But it is certainly something to consider as we continue to stir the hornet's nest in this neck of the woods.
Speaking of which, sir, of course, I will be happy to wait for any public reports, but how did the conference go? Is there anything I should be made aware of?
Yes. The Klingons, I think, have sent an aging ambassador who does not actually know how to be a proper ambassador. He's more interested in saber rattling and insulting everyone every time he opens his mouth. I'm kind of hoping that they'll send a proper ambassador at some point, but that's not seeming to happen. The Romulans are, as always, being as secretive as possible. This recent skirmish along all our borders has heightened everyone's tensions. The Oshiriks, it's hard to get a read on them. Have you ever played many gambling games, Lieutenant?
I have played Dabo, if that counts.
Imagine playing Dabo, knowing where you are the only one who knows precisely where it's going to land. But if you let your knowledge play to your favor every single time, then you, of course, risk getting kicked out of the bar. And probably being chased by some Nausicaans at the moment. So you have to play your cards very, very carefully. And I think that's where the Oshiriks are. They know us a lot better than we know them.
Well, Captain, I could take another look at the logs from our, I guess you would call it, day trip to their homeworld, and I could see if there's any insight I could glean from that.
Of course. Any insight is appreciated, Counselor.
Excellent.
And if you wouldn't mind, just as a favor, not as an order, just check up on Murthrin once in a while during his week of quote unquote shore leave. He'll be working. Knowing him, he'll be working 25 hours a day, and I want to make sure he gets some shore leave. If he doesn't get any shore leave, please let myself or Panek know.
Well, sir, I will remind you that as ship's counselor, just like our chief medical officer, I do have the ability to make him take shore leave.
I smile a little bit sneakily. I will defer to your best judgment for that.
She just sort of smiles and says, "Of course, sir. Was there anything else?"
There isn't actually, Counselor. Is there anything I should be on the lookout for you on from my position?
Well, sir, while you were gone, of course I don't expect this to be a problem, but Valul, Penek's betrothed, did arrive on the Formidable. Again, I don't see it being a problem, but as ship's counselor, I think it is at least worth mentioning.
Oh, I've got to meet her.
Honestly, sir, I haven't been able to meet her myself. I've only heard third-hand accounts. So my understanding thus far is that she seems to be a typical Vulcan.
Fair enough. Is she a Starfleet officer, or did she come as a civilian?
She came as a civilian, sir. She was, or still is, I suppose, a member of the Vulcan Science Academy, and is partially, if not fully, responsible for many of the bits of technology on the Formidable.
Interesting. I can't imagine all the intellectually stimulating conversations those two must have.
Indeed.
Anyways, thank you for stopping by, Counselor.
Of course. Thank you, sir.
I'll see you on the station.
And yeah, she walks on out. And as you, as the doors close, you actually get an incoming hail on your little desk computer.
Does it say where the hail's coming from?
Yes, it is coming from the Formidable.
Very well. I accept it.
All right, so on your little screen, the Formidable's captain, Captain Liak, he appears on the screen and says, Captain Skull, it's a pleasure to finally, quote-unquote, meet you. How was the summit, by the way?
It sounded about as tense and as life-threatening as your recent fleet engagement, Captain.
Oh.
It's just that they used words as weapons instead of barrages of phaser and quantum torpedoes.
Honestly, I do not envy the task that you had to sit through. I honestly think I would have rather faced another 7 Romulans than play politics, but to business. If you are not doing anything, Captain, I would like to introduce you to a friend of mine, She is one of the bartenders at the Ryzian Dreaming Club.
You've just said about 3 or 4 words all in one row that capture my interest. I will be happy to take you up on this invitation, Captain.
Ah, wonderful. Let's say 1,800 hours?
1800 sounds perfect. That should give me enough time to deal with at least some of these reports and technically dispose of the rest.
Alrighty. Sounds good to me, Captain.
I imagine him being voiced by either Wesley Snipes or Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, like he has a tremendously deep voice that I am incapable of producing. But, you know, I do have 1 or 2 voices planned for this session, which will go horribly, but we'll have a good time with it.
Works for me.
All right. So, you know, with that set up, Drake, I believe you had something. Well, I guess Beckett had something.
Are you muted?
Yeah, I was. Sorry. So, a message comes through subspace, earmarked for Murthrin. I don't know who on the ship would pick it up. Probably either Tin or Locke, I guess.
I would say probably Tin, and Tin would pass it along very quickly.
It is a file dump, kind of a small one, that says, with compliments, you had said that the Luna class was one of your favorites, and I thought you would like to check her out. May I present to you the little sister, aka the USS Lysithia, and let me know if you find anything that I might want to change. And in the file dump, there is the entire specs for the USS Lysithia.
Hmm.
So how does Murthrin take this?
I'm thinking initially he actually doesn't open it up because he's sort of focusing entirely on the repairs and like actually shutting most of everything else out.
Mm-hmm.
At least until the counselor gets to him.
Okay. I'm assuming most of your work is going to be done in, excuse me, main
gamma section.
engineering.
Yep. Okay. So he's sort of pulled in on himself quite a lot since the battle, and he's just basically in fairly no nonsense, issuing orders, doing work, checking reports mode.
Okay. In that case, Murthrin, I would normally switch his maps, but I think Theater of the Mind is just as appropriate. So into main engineering walks the ship's counselor, Jisa, and she makes a beeline right for you, Murthrin. And she says, Lieutenant Commander, may I have a moment of your time?
Just a moment, he says, without really looking up, and sort of goes to sort of run a scanner over something.
She waits patiently.
Eventually, once he realizes she isn't actually going to leave, he just sort of puts the scanner away. How can I help you?
Well, Lieutenant Commander, I come bearing what might be good news, what might be bad news. First off, I did want to check and see how you were doing after the extended conflicts we've been going through. I wanted to ensure that you were in the right state of mind.
I manage, he says. Rather, a little bit of terseness in the voice, but like you can tell, she can tell he's doing his best to be polite and neutral.
Well, obviously, Lieutenant Commander, I would not want to put you so much on the spot in a public place. However, I do come bearing, again, a gift of sorts. I believe it is important that you take a moment, or several moments, or really more a couple days to have time for yourself off of work. So as much as you might hate me for this, Lieutenant Commander, I am hereby ordering you, effective immediately, to report for shore leave.
And Murthrin looks like he's about to object and just sort of bites his lip and like, I'm not getting out of this one, am I?
No, and unfortunately, unless you want to take it up with the captain, I would say even then he has fully agreed with me that you, and really all of the senior staff, need some time to your own.
Okay, all right. He sort of like looks around awkwardly, sort of closes the tricorder, hands it to the Zenixia, and goes to make his way out.
Yeah, and on your way out, Zenixia says, "Don't worry, I'll handle what's missing."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So, at this point, I do want to do a scene with Valol and Panek. Panek, did you have any particular spot on the station you wanted to meet her, or is that something I could make up?
I didn't know where she was, if she'd been injured or
Oh no,
what.
she's fine. Maybe took a, I wouldn't call it a nasty gash, but some sort of cut during the skirmish, but she's fine. She's on DSD and she'll meet you pretty much wherever.
Her quarters are fine.
Okay. Did I put in quarters maps yet? No, of course I didn't. It's always the freaking quarters. Alright, let me just quickly juggle some tokens here. Alright. Well, I think that's going to put the Formidable on the screen, but I can deal with that. Alright, so, Panek, you kind of hop on over to the Formidable, and you go to Valol's quarters, and you chime the door, and she says, please come in.
I enter.
And as you might expect from both a temporary sort of visitor and a Vulcan, the quarters are very Spartan. There are barely any decorations to speak of. I would say the only item that would stand out is a Calto device or game. I forget which it is. But there is a Calto game sort of sitting on one of the tables. There is also a series of, I guess you would call them incense, Vulcan incense. They're not lit, but they are sort of sitting in a basket of sorts on one of the ledges. And Valol herself is currently seated at one of the desks in this VIP quarter. And as you come in, she kind of looks up and says, "Ah, how are you doing? I was expecting you to check in."
I approach her and do the two-finger greeting,
Mm-hmm.
and I say, "Hello, Maya Shalik," which is Vulcan for beloved.
Mm-hmm.
I merely wish to check in on you after the attack, the formidable face from the Klingons and Romulans. How are you faring?
I am faring well, my betrothed. That said, I did have a matter I wish to discuss with you.
Please proceed.
So she looks around her desk for a moment and says, here it is. And she proffers a pad and holds it out to you.
What is this?
This is a opportunity, but I believe it speaks for itself.
I'll peruse the pad then.
All right. So on the pad there are two, I guess you would call them options, but they're presented more like potential outcomes. The first is that Valol is granted a, I guess you would call it a non-com promotion within Starfleet, so that she would be, how do I want to say this? She would essentially be assigned to DSD as both as a Vulcan, I wouldn't call it ambassador, but maybe a liaison would be a good word. So sort of as a liaison and as a sort of technology expert. The other
Consultant.
option. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Like a consultant.
Yeah, a consultant would probably be a better word. The other option is that she returns to Vulcan and starts a teaching career with the Academy rather than, say, an active research sort of role.
I'll raise one eyebrow as I read these, and then I finish them up and hand her back the pad. Both of these are very prestigious opportunities available to you. Which one
Indeed.
were you giving considerable thought to?
Honestly, I was torn. They both have their merits, and both are very logical choices. I figured, though, given our connection, that it would be remiss of me if I did not get your opinion.
Uh, that is quite an emotional response. We've gone such a long time without interacting that I don't understand why you would not make the choice yourself. But if you wish my advice, I will gladly give it.
I will freely admit that some of my human colleagues' behavior may have rubbed off on me over the years. However, I simply would think that it would be most logical for one's betrothed to weigh in on any decision that might involve a future interaction.
I have noticed the effect humans seem to have. I've felt it myself. A position at the academy is quite prestigious, and tenure there is very sought after by Vulcans. However, we are on the frontier of space here in the Sabine Expanse, and our research could benefit from the information and technology we find out here.
And that is more or less the argument I am having with myself. They, as you say, both have their merits, and makes deciding between them rather difficult.
I am reminded of the decision I made in regards to my father and following his path, and the passivity of his chosen career. While the academy is quite the opportunity, I believe your actual interests will benefit greatly if you would choose DSD.
So she doesn't smile. But I think there is probably a small twitch of her mouth, like the corner of it, that would indicate some sort of small emotional response.
It might as well be a huge grin to a Vulcan.
Yeah, it's she's obviously pleased by this I guess revelation you could call it, and she says, "Very well. Thank you for your input. I believe I will be able to make my decision by the day's end."
Very well, please keep me informed. Tell me, how have your alterations to the Formidable shown to work? What data have you collected during your skirmish?
Well, the good news is that the prototype warhead actually proved more effective than we could have ever hoped in a real live combat scenario. For some reason, the prototype that was used for the testing was not adequately configured. As such, when we used them in actual combat, we saw an increase in both efficiency of the explosion conversion rate and the overall area of effect were increased thricefold.
Interesting. I see that you have some work, considerable work still to do while we are docked here receiving repairs. Please extend my offer to your captain that any engineering crew that he needs that he could use, that we will make available to him.
Understood. I will pass that along.
Also, please give my regards to your brother Stirak and his Kaswan ritual. I hope he returns from the desert soon.
I believe he will. Well, I don't want to say this out of character. I am not concerned. I believe he will return unharmed and much wiser for his experiences.
That is the sought after effect of the ritual itself.
Indeed.
But if you will excuse me, I have other matters to attend to.
Of course.
And I'll nod and bow to her and and then leave.
All right.
As soon as I step out, I want to hit my badge and kind of call station security.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, no, you can call station security. It's just a little bit odd, but yeah, you reach someone. We'll just call him the constable for now because I'm a bad GM and I didn't write down enough names for this. But you get the constable, and the constable says, "Commander Panek, how may I help you?"
Greetings, Constable. I am curious about the current whereabouts of the two Ferengi we dropped with you previously from the Ophion. Do they happen to still be aboard the station?
One of them has left. One moment. Ah, yes, the member of the FCA, DeBar, is currently trying to make a business deal at the Ryzian Dreaming Club. Should I hold him for anything, or...
No, Constable. I will see to him myself. Thank you. Connect out.
Very
And then
good.
I'll hop in a turbo lift head there.
All right. Okay. So I think that's the captain. That's Panek. Let's see what Drake and Locke are up to.
I think Locke is in the middle of a shopping montage throughout Deep Space Daedalus. Just, ooh, a miniature industrial replicator. That's going to be handy. Maybe that's kind of like a small micro transport will be good. Just like grabbing odds and ends and
No,
skipping along.
I think this is a good scene. I actually planned for one of you to go on a shopping montage. Let's see. Yeah, let's just use this map again. We'll just throw Locke's token on there. So Locke, you're going along the promenade. You know, you're looking for things that interest you, and you come across Maka's Emporium, and even from the window that has some wares in it, you can tell that this emporium contains all manner of these strange curios and trinkets. And inside, you know, even from the promenade proper, inside you can see that who you assume is the owner, Maka herself, is a Cardassian who is currently feather dusting what could be a Klingon. How do I want to say this? I guess you would call it a Klingon banner, something that would represent an ancient house.
So it's kind of more of an antique type store, or is that just kind of Klingon goods?
No, it has a wide variety of things. You just would have to go inside and, you know, take a look around and see if there's anything that interests you.
Okay. I guess I turned to Shatsu, who's behind me, carrying like the stereotypical box of stuff that I'm making her carry. Because she's strong and I'm not. I'm like, oh, let's go in here.
All right, let's see what's inside. We'll put Shatsu on here too.
Because of course they don't have pockets and bags. It's always crates and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you step inside the shop and immediately Maka turns to you and says, "Ah, welcome, welcome. I do believe you are members of the Ophion crew, yes?"
Oh yes, yeah, just on here, shore leave, repairs, just browsing.
Well, I've heard so much about you. You are often the talk of the station.
What species is the proprietor of this establishment?
She is a Cardassian.
It's a very interesting shop here. How long have you been on Deep Space Daedalus?
Well, I was one of the first proprietors on Deep Space Daedalus, but what you see here, and she motions around, this collection is something I've acquired over many years, even despite the unpleasantness of the Dominion War. Please, feel free to take a look around, and if anything interests you, I would be happy to barter or otherwise trade for it.
All right. I start poking away, looking at things, and ooh, it's a Cardassian image inducer. I haven't seen one of these in a long time.
It's an interesting
kind of things
taste
are
you
here?
have there. And I actually have to look up the image deducer. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but
I'm making up.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like an official thing.
No, I'm.
No, okay.
Oh, look, it's a Cardassian noun verb. How fascinating.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, so Maka says, yes, and the image inducer. I think you'll find that if you do a little bit of work on it, it's in a little bit of disrepair. It needs some circuit replacing. But I think you'll find that it is able to more or less replace a small bit of holodeck time.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, definitely a bit older model. It's a little bit larger than most you'd see now. Ooh, got a bit of heft to it. This thing could. Do you take Federation replicator credits, or is it actual barter?
I would prefer gold press latinum, but if you have anything of, I guess the word would be use or value, I would be willing to trade. And at that same moment, Shatsu says, ooh, look, over here, check this out. And because I am a talentless hack, Shatsu has found the Cardassian equivalent of a scratching post.
Oh, that's... I didn't know Cardassians had targs.
We call them something different, but yes, we do have domestic animals that tend to need something to, I guess, dull or sharpen their claws.
Which can just come like a large nail file almost of carpet.
It's not a bad comparison, really.
Well, I suppose. Oh, Well, how much would you like? How much gold press platinum would you like for this? Are we given like a requisite amount? Or is there a ration? Or
I would say, because that's not something that's ever really covered in the show, we'll say that if we need to really keep track of latinum, you have a discretionary fund of about, we'll say, a bar every 3 months. So that's what, 4 bars a year. But the price that Maka quotes you is something like 50 slips, which I think should be half a bar.
pull up a currency. So I'm like, all right. So, well, I guess I'll take the scratching post. Let's see, what else do I have to trade here? So I look through my supplies, and it's like, oh, why don't I ever have pockets? I should start carrying on those bags that you wear over your shoulder. What are they called again?
Backpacks?
Satchels.
Satchel, okay.
I like the sling over the shoulder ones.
Merce.
Immerse.
Yes, the standard Starfleet issue Merce. Well, I do have a few, let's see, self-stealing stem bolts. I don't know where I got a vial of Ketracel White. That's I'm sure that'll come in handy somewhere.
Oh, wait, a vial of Ketracel White. Is it refined or unrefined?
Unrefined.
Ooh, those are rather rare.
Well, we had an incident with some Jem'Hadar, and they weren't clean when they invaded.
Tell you what, you throw in the vial of Ketracel White, and I will give you everything that you want for the vial and 20 slips.
Throw in that Cardassian, that I'm not even sure what this is. It looks like a phase discriminator, but I think it's only half of it. Throw that in as well, and we'll call it a deal.
She takes a look at it and says, huh. It's strange for me to not know something in my collection, but I honestly have no idea what that is. So, sure, I have no problem throwing that in.
Done. It's like fumble for my... I'll have the the slip sent to you.
Excellent. Well, it has been a pleasure doing business with you.
Hand over the stuff. Wander out elsewhere.
All right. So I believe that leaves Drake, and then we'll circle back to Mirthrin, and then we'll deal with the captain and everyone who's going to Ryzian Dreaming.
Drake actually doesn't have anything. When off shift, he kind of stays away from everybody else.
Okay.
Oh, I have something of interest that I'd like to do with Prague and Drake.
Okay, where's it taking place?
Probably a seedier bar, I would think.
I know one in mind.
Oh, Lord.
Well, sorry. Prague will come and talk to Drake first, just to make sure he's on board with this.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead and play Prague as I set up some tokens.
Okay. Lieutenant, I need your help. They're going to be doing a lot of shipping of engineering parts in for the next day, so I got a day off. I need to pick up with this Dr. Beckett left off with this whole still nonsense. I need someone intimidating to help me negotiate a deal with the local station for some of the brews that I'm working on.
Well, I mean, you're a Tellarite, and you guys are kind of, intimidating and grumpy yourself.
Yes, but there's a bit of a difference between you and me. About 4 feet difference. And I'm one to admit that while I'm good with a spanner and a self-stealing stem bolt, the captain, had a much better way of dealing with potential buyers of this stuff than I do. And if I'm going on the station and selling some of this stuff to Ferengi level buyers, having someone nearby that could help if I'm picked up and thrown out would be of some assistance.
So you need someone there in case the Ferengis turn their Nausicaans on you?
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, I've pretty much got nothing to do for the next couple of days, so
Cool.
It's been a while since I picked a fight with a Nausicaan.
Did you win?
I'm still here, aren't I?
Good enough. And I'll give him the time and place to be.
Okay. So, Beckett already knows this map, but for the rest of you, the bar in question, which you have tracked down, is pretty much as much as you can get as close to a hole in the wall as you can in the 24th century. It is on one of the lower levels of the station. It's kind of out of the way, but Zaix, Z-A-I-X, apostrophe S, it is one of the quieter bars, obviously because it is out of the way, and it is known across the station as, I guess the word would be seedy, but at the same time, it's a good place to have a discreet or quiet conversation. And interestingly, the bartender or the owner is a Tellarite himself.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Male or female?
It is a male Tellarite.
Good. I don't have to bring sexist puns into this. I'm going to wander. I'm going to come in and I'm going to be dragging a hover cart with several cases of this swill behind me.
Okay. So, of course, the bar somewhat looks like what we have on screen at the moment, but I will point out that the only other occupant in the bar besides Zaix himself is Gol Anat, the Cardassian that you saved from the Space Hulk, or not Space Hulk. And he's just sort of nursing a drink and staring out one of the portholes at space outside.
As I wander past, hey, Cardassian, how's the future treating you so far?
He kind of starts a little bit and turns and says, fine, I guess. Sorry, who are you?
I was one of the crew that rescued your sorry hide.
Kind of narrows his eyes, looks you up and down, and says, "Oh right, I remember you. Vrag, was it?
Crag. And
Right.
your gull in out, right?
Close enough, yes."
Hmm. Well, enjoy that beer.
He looks
Well,
down
just-
at it and says, "This is Kanar."
Oh, Kanar. Gotta learn this stuff. That's Kanar. Good to know. Need to learn this stuff if I'm going to be dealing with this business. I'm just going to plod up to the Tellarite working behind the bar. So, you actually want to sell some shit that's good?
Zayak stops, puts down the glass that every bartender has to clean whenever they're not doing anything, and says, "And who the hell let this short stack into my bar?"
I may be short, but my beard is far better off than yours. When was the last time you actually washed that thing? Or I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I insulted your pet targ that crawled into your face and died.
You know, normally I'd comment about how you shouldn't really talk about your mother like that, but I can see that we actually have some business to discuss, so how about we cut the bullshit and get to whatever brought you to my bar?
Right. I have you know that we've gotten from the Prometheus. We have a bit of a beer on an alcohol making operation on board that up until very recently was one of our sole clients was Quarks out of Deep Space Nine. However, we are no longer operating out of Deep Space Nine. We're operating out of this dump of a station. And
So let me get this straight. You sold your piss in a bottle to Quark, and you expect me to pay you for the privilege of passing around whatever absolute swill you qualify as liquor?
well, we both know that Frankie will pretty much pay Latinum for anything. However, and I'm just going to hand over a bill of sale that whatever contract Beckett had between him and Quark.
Okay.
Now, we both know that Ferengis are opportunistic assholes. We also know that this shithole of a place doesn't have the operating capital that a bar like that does. Also, we also know that I'm an engineer looking to make it my way, just looking to make a little extra capital on the side. Because you know that Starfleet pays their officers like shit. Heck, Mr. Drake, or my associate here, he actually joined for free just to punch people in the face. And I'm just going to look at Drake for a second, see if he does anything.
Drake leans on the bar, reaches behind the bar, and grabs whatever bottle is there, and starts sipping from it and nodding.
Alright, I could see you brought some of your crap with you, so give me a bottle of this shit. Let's see if it tastes anything passable.
Fine by me. You know what? Instead of me, pick a bottle. That way, you know the game's not rigged.
Goes over to your little hover cart, looks around, picks up a bottle, goes back to his spot behind the bar, pops it open, takes a sip, and says, "My God, it's like someone took a bullion's shit, mixed it with blood wine, and chilled it so much that an Endorian's nipples would freeze off."
Good stuff, right?
I know! He looks down at the contract and says, "Can't give you this much, though. There's no
Don't
fucking
expect
way.
it.
I'll give you 65% of what you're asking."
65 sounds good to me.
Drake puts his hand on Prag's shoulder. How about 70?
Good idea. 65 to me and 5% to him.
Sayx looks at Drake, looks him up and down, and says, "Actually, question. Is any of Drake's, I guess you would call it, decorations visible at this point, or is that still underneath his uniform?
No, it's still underneath his uniform. His sleeves are still completely covered.
Okay, just making sure. In that case, he looks Drake up and down and says, well, do you really want the 5%, lad, or you just trying to break my balls here?
Well, little column A, little column B. And then I'll finish the bottle that I was drinking, reach behind the bar and grab another one. So 70%.
If it'll get you out of my bar and stop drinking my good stock, all right, let's do it.
Got yourself a deal.
Puts a thumb to the contract, hands it back to you, and says, now leave your crap here and get the hell out.
Tell you what. Are you like most bartenders out here on the fringe, especially, after what happened around here, stuck with, let's say, a couple cases of Canar?
I have a case of Canar. Why would you want that shit?
No reason. And I'll look at Prague. Hey, why don't you head back to the ship? I'll catch up with you in a minute.
You got it.
So
Don't get too drunk down here. You might get lost.
Yeah, I'll find my way back.
that's it.
As I saunter past, I'm going to look at the Cardassian and go, the Cardassian Empire needs every gull they can get right now. Once you're done feeling sorry for yourself and missing out probably the worst war in history, in your history anyways, get your ass back there and get command of a ship. You disgust me sitting down here. I didn't save your ass for you to drink it.
So
Drink it off.
The gull very politely, even for a Cardassian, turns to you and says, I'm literally waiting for my ship to come in. It's supposed to arrive in the next 2 hours.
Ha! I judged you wrong then. I would slap him on the back if I was tall enough. I probably would just slap him playfully on the back of the leg or probably the ass and just say, congratulations. This is the one rare time that a Tellarite apologizes.
I will take that as a moral victory.
And I'm going to head out before someone actually wants me to apologize for anything else.
And after Prague leaves, I'm going to look at Zazix. I'll pull a couple strips of latinum out of my pocket. And tell you what, that case of Canar, and I'll look over my shoulder at Gull in it. Give it to him before he ships out. And I'll just throw the latinum strips on the bar.
Takes a look at it and says, it'll buy him half the case, but sure.
All right, fine. I'll throw one more strip onto the bar. Give him the whole case.
That'll get you 3/4 of the case.
I stop. I deadpan look at him. You're going to give him the whole case.
Roll a presence plus... I guess
Security?
you're being intimidating, so yeah, security. Difficulty 3 because he is a Tellarite.
I'm probably not going to be able to make it, but oh well.
Good rolls, but not the 3 you needed. And Zaix just says, listen, I already was pretty damn generous with the deal I made with your friend. And I gave you those bottles you're drinking for free. So how about we just call it 3/4 and we're done?
Drake will kind of nod with a smirk. I did drink a couple bottles. He'll throw a fourth strip down. How about the whole case?
Alright, I can see that you're man of terrible taste, but alright, sure. Very, I guess you would call it gracefully for a Tellarite. He just kind of sweeps the strips into a waiting bag behind the bar. Alright, he'll get his stuff.
And then on my way out, I'm gonna walk over and kind of pat Anat like on the back of the shoulder. Tellarite's gonna give you a present. Don't worry, it's nothing bad. But let's just say, for pulling you out of that thing and what he's gonna give you, you know, you owe me something a little later.
Kind of looks you up and down and says, okay, you're Lieutenant Dragon?
Close, Lieutenant Drake.
Drake, sorry.
Or if well, you're in the Obsidian Order. Just look up the Round Table. That'll tell you more than you need to know about who I am. And then I'll just walk away.
Okay. The Knot just sort of watches you go, and we change scenes. So before we do the big old scene in Ryzian Dreaming, Mirthrin, did you have anything you wanted to do?
Yeah, I've been trying to decide who Mirthrin would be likely to interact with. Well, we're a Locke and Shatsu at the moment.
That's up to Locke, really.
Just wherever you need us to be. Bump into us as you are walking somewhere awkwardly.
Yep. So I'd imagine like it either probably on one of like the observation decks or whatever. You just run into Mirthrin, just like looking out at the Ophion and dry dock, and just sort of restlessly pacing, and like he obviously is like in that state where you really should be going somewhere, but you're dithering and you're not committing to anything.
There we go. Actually, I'm not prepared.
Hooray!
Are you enjoying your shore leave?
Is it possible to get cabin fever on a station this large?
Apparently, yes. Are you examining the damage from the outside?
Unfortunately. I should be back in there, but Councilor's orders, I have to relax.
We have some very good specialists doing the job. They've lots of experience fixing up Gamma.
I know. They're all good, and Zenixia has it all down pat, but you don't have to think about things when you're fixing something. And it's like just stands there, sort of pensively looking out the window for a bit.
You need to go someplace relaxing. You're empathic, right? If you go someplace really, really relaxing, you'll probably pick up the relaxing vibes from the people you're with, which will help calm you down by proxy.
You'd think that would help, but ever since... Did I ever tell you about my time on the Odette?
I don't believe so, no.
And he'll sort of like indicate with his head to sort of walk with him as they head in the direction of whatever bar or whatever they were heading to. It was a Nebula class. It's the one I served on when the Dominion War started.
Yes,
Junior grade engineer. Started off junior grade engineer, did not stay there for long. Don't think I've ever... It's like, I'm not sure if there's any other ship that had so many field promotions due to casualties.
It's hard losing friends, colleagues.
It
does make you feel like you haven't earned the position.
That's not even the worst of it. Okay.
What
you
is
know
the
what
worst?
it's like when it's like you saw conflict in the war, right?
I saw people seeing conflict. I was always the man on the shuttle watching and listening. I heard a lot of conflict.
You've seen... Have you ever been there when someone passed away?
I've listened and felt entirely impotent and unable to help while several people passed away, more than I can count.
Phrasing.
And I'll say, all right, well, imagine watching someone fade away, and being able to feel how alone and scared they are at the same time.
I can kind of relate to that. Yes, it's a step beyond, but I've seen enough that would be horrible.
After the first few months, I just learned to shut it off. And that's the problem. I don't think I ever really learned to switch it back on again. I mean, back during the battle with the nebula, like, you'd think the biggest my biggest problem would be a panic attack or just emotional damage from the war resurfacing, but instead was just something just switched on off in my brain, and it was like the war never ended.
Have you talked to the counselor about this?
No, I really should. I don't sort of. It's frightening to feel grief. It's almost more frightening to think you might not be capable of feeling grief anymore.
Well, the war is over. And I know I can't. Letting it go isn't always possible, but I'm not fighting the war anymore. We have to remember those people we lost and what they died for, but they would want us to keep on living. They wouldn't want us to dwell in the past, be trapped by the horrors of the war.
And he just sort of like doesn't say anything, but just sort of nods. So, where are you two heading?
The entire time, Shatsu's been sitting there quietly holding like a dozen boxes, slowly sinking farther and farther. Just wandering, seeing what I can find, bits things to play with and build and tinker.
You know, maybe a bit of ambient positive energy is what I need.
I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I talked over you.
That's fine. Shatsu does kind of speak up, though, and says, well, I was going to drop these off, but we were going to go to Ryzian Dreaming after this.
You know, maybe a bit of positive vibes is what I need. I'll see you there.
Yes.
And
surround yourself with friends. Even if you can't feel their emotions, you can feel their smiles.
And Murthrin actually does crack a smile at that.
5 other senses to enjoy. First round is on me.
Alrighty.
So, we are, in that case, going to cut to Ryzian Dreaming, where we're going to have very, several smaller scenes. But should anyone need to jump in or feel like jumping into another scene, be my guest. So the captain, is back. So, Captain, we'll say that you and Captain Liak arrive as expected, and grab whatever drink is your drink of choice and sit down. And Liak says, so, if you had to guess who this person was that I'm going to introduce you to, what species do you think they're going to be?
Let's see. Bartender? Right. The Rycian Dreamer. Let's see. What's the environment of the Rycian Dreamer? Looks like a bit of a lounge type?
Yeah, so I guess I should probably describe it a little bit. Again, talentless hack of a GM here. Basically, this is one part of the larger club. This is where most of your bar part of the club is handled, like drinks and food and things of that nature. There is a big old window out into space that shows off one of the planets. The club, though, does kind of split off, and that's what this sort of thing to the right is, where it just sort of opens up into anything. That is a larger sort of dance floor and private areas to sit. But I would say that even though this is kind of a smaller map, that this is a very large place, and that there is probably I would say a good 40 to 50 people in here at any given time.
Very well. Okay. Let's see. Bartender of a place like this. Is the bartender the owner?
No. I'm not introducing you to the bartender or the
Oh.
owner.
Sorry, I thought that I may have misremembered what the original invitation was.
He was basically going to introduce you to a waitress.
Oh, waitress. Apologies.
That's
Okay, waitress here. Out here. Klingon?
Oh, that would be interesting, but no. Try again.
Let's see. Quick look around. How many waitresses are there?
All right, so you're looking around, and you would note that behind the bar is a male Rysian, and that all of the waitresses, or at least the ones you're seeing, appear to also be Rysian.
Makes sense, I suppose. The obvious answer then would probably be a Rysian, although it wouldn't surprise me if the waitress turned out to be a blue-skinned individual with rainbow hair and a penchant for playing omnipotent tricks on people.
The axe kind of looks at you and says, "It's rather
So,
interesting tangent, but no, I can assure you that no blue-skinned individuals with rainbow-colored hair are... Don't actually think I know anybody with hair like that."
oh, thank goodness. We've had run-ins. It's remind me after a couple drinks to tell you about our encounters with AQ.
He kind of looks you up and down and says, "Right, Q. I thankfully have had never the pleasure to meet with one."
Stay away from me, then. She seems to like our ship.
Because I find it funny, a waitress comes over to you and since you kind of have the back to her, she says, "Can I get you gentlemen anything new?"
Why, yes, I would like to have another one of these, what do they call the soul sunrises, please.
All right, and you maybe turn around to see, and again, because I'm talentless and a hack, it is literally Lady Q in a maid outfit, just sitting there with a tray and saying, "You do know I love popping up when you talk about me, right?"
Captain Liak, Madam Q, Captain Liak. And I just roll my eyes so far up I can probably see the my Abdullah oblongata.
Liak kind of looks her up and down and says, "Well, that was not who I was expecting. I was expecting Haryana." And Q says, "Well, let's just say Haryana is currently indisposed. But I won't take too much of your gentlemen's time. I just came to deliver a very brief message to the both of you."
I just sit back in my chair, like, fold my arms. I know what's coming. I'm just... All right, what is it?
Things are not as they seem.
Computer end program.
Nothing happens, but there is a flash of light, and in her place is left behind a... Where did I put her sheet? There is a Andorian female looking very confused while what just happened, but she is wearing the standard or what appears to be the standard sort of waitress outfit for this bar and club, and she takes a look around and says, "Okay, that was weird. I was just must be imagining it. Can I get you gentlemen anything?" And Liax says, "Well, Captain, this is Haryana."
Charmed.
No.
Captain Barton Skull, pleasure to meet you.
I'm sure the pleasure's all mine. If you're a friend of if Liac here, you're a friend of mine. What are you drinking there, honey?
I'll take one of these solar flare sunrises, please.
Of course. Would you like to make it a double?
I have a week, why not?
I'll throw it in free of charge. She winks at you, and Liac gives a appropriate order, and she kind of wanders off, and Liac says, So, are we going to pretend that whole Q thing didn't happen, or?
I pretty much my expectations with Q is that while she is far less bombastic than the one that seems to plague Picard and Janeway, if these reports of Voyager I've heard are accurate, but she does seem to sort of like to care about us. I suppose the same way one of us might care about a pet. So if I would take her message as ominous, but something just to put out of our mind for the moment, anyways.
Well, I promise to not be a hologram if you promise not to be one.
Deal. And if there's any, there's a slight momentary panic in the back of the captain's mind if when Liak says that, might make it to his face ever so slightly, and then he shakes it off and goes, deal.
And the last thing that he says as we switch to another person in the bar is he says, so I've heard there's this great holodeck program. And we're going to switch to Panek. So Panek, you have tracked down Debar, FCA, to Rising and Dreaming. And he is in the corner, and he is counting a big old stack of latinum. Like, we're talking Quark's daily profits worth of latinum.
Debar.
Looks up and says, yes, Commander, please have a seat.
Thank you. I see you have had quite a profitable time here on DSD.
Yes, well, the 30-second rule of acquisition. Always make profit, no matter where you go.
A fortuitous ideal. I have come because I've given your offer some thought, and I've decided perhaps I will open an account with the FCA. With your sponsorship, of course.
No, I would be willing to sponsor you, no problem. I am simply curious, though. Would this be a long-term account, or would it be a short investment?
I'm perhaps looking to get into some high yield, long-term investing.
Well, it
but,
is... go ahead.
I would need some other motivation, you could say, to jump the gun,
Well,
as the humans say.
it would be remiss of me to say that such things are very high risk, and that latinum could go poof in an instant if you're not careful. But what is this extra kick that you wish to have?
I require your assistance and perhaps your connections in regards to a sensitive matter.
Sort of looks you up and down, leans in and says, if you need a program for your Pomfar, I do happen to have one.
That is quite all right. I am not coming to you about that, and would never come to you about that. Instead, I am sure you've heard about the recent struggle in the DMZ between the Romulans and Klingons.
Of course I am aware of it. It is the talk of the station.
I would like to inquire as to any connections you have that could be utilized in determining if a piece of sensor data has been modified illegally.
Well, as it so happens, I could do that myself.
That is quite convenient.
Well, as a member of the FCA, I do have to deal with people falsifying their accounts and their data.
I look around. Is there a terminal nearby?
No, but I would say that you could have a pad which will function pretty much the same way.
All right, I'll hand him the pad, and these are the sensor logs we picked up while in the DMZ. We were able to determine that some of the time codes do not match up with the suggested reporting. I would like you to study this information, these logs some more, and see what you can determine.
All right, I'm actually going to do a roll for him. Okay. So, he takes a tentative look at it, scrolls through, and says, "Ah, yes, I think I see your problem right here. The checksum of this message and this sensor block data does not add up. I can safely say, even without doing a thorough inspection, that this data was modified after the original."
Interesting. Could you determine who has who fabricated this information? Is there any telltale signs of perhaps some data or code left behind?
He kind of squints at it for a moment, says, "Yes, actually. I recognize this style of modification. It belongs to the FCA itself."
The Ferengi Commerce Association
That is correct,
modified
yes.
this data?
Yes, that is all correct.
That is quite an interesting development.
I can assure you I know nothing about it, though.
What would they have to gain from falsifying this sensor data?
Kind of looks at you a little bit strangely and says, "Well, I imagine they got paid for it, of course."
Do you have any way to inquire with the FCA as to who paid them
I
for
do,
this data?
yes, but it would require a couple of weeks.
Very well. Please get on that as soon as possible. And in the meantime, you may consider me a newest member of the FCA's sponsored program.
Yes, I happen to have those forms right here. And he pulls out a pad, hands it over to you, and begins the paperwork for, having an account with the Ferengi.
Fortunately, no one fills out paperwork quite like a Vulcan.
Mm-hmm. So we now shift slightly to Shatsu, Locke, and Murthrin. You all have just had a seat. You've ordered the drink of your choice. And Murthrin, since you are a Betazoid, I will say that you are getting a very pleasant vibe from this place. People are generally happy. Maybe a few people are a little intoxicated. But on the whole, it is a pleasant, empathic place to be.
And he's like visibly relaxing at this point. Now, as always, Jisa knows best.
So, and this is Satu. So, Lieutenant Commander, tell me, are you a fan of holodeck time at all?
Well, actually, he sort of like sits up and leans forward a bit. I do, I do sort of do some amateur holonovel programming in my spare time.
Oh, do tell.
I've been working on one. Still only about halfway done at this point, but ever since I came on the Ophion, been working on one based on one I remember from childhood back on Vulcan.
She thinks for a moment and says, "Fortunately, my knowledge of Vulcan entertainment is limited. What is it based on?"
Well, the original story it's based on is a little bit dry. It's a tale about a Vulcan who goes on a pilgrimage up into the mountains and sort of learns control and enlightenment along the way. And honestly, it was a little bit duller than most Vulcan children's stories are. But comparatively, it's the one that stuck with me the most, basically because it's one of the few that has giant monsters in it.
Shatsu does look to Locke and says, "Locke, weren't you the one that was looking into old earthen mythology?"
Only a little. I don't know much about that. It's what I remember from a kid.
Well, the reason I ask is because I seem to recall you telling me about something. I think it was Beowulf.
I I remember a little about that. Came up in my search of when I was looking up dragons. It was definitely a Beowulf story of a Norse. It was Danish, something like that. I can't remember the old or the city states. Yeah, we fought several monsters, including a really big dragon.
She turns back to Mirthrin and says, I don't know if it's anything like yours, but based on what I've heard so far, it does sound similar.
A little bit different. What I'm doing is I'm sort of adapting the story a little to make it a little more interesting for a non-Vulcan audience and sort of create a scenario where you're assisting this Vulcan sort of get up a mountain as part of their pilgrimage.
I see. Well, the reason I bring up the subject is because I sort of have my ears to the ground here on station, and I understand there's a very popular spy action holonovel featuring Klingon intelligence members.
Mirthrin will sort of raise an eyebrow. I wasn't aware the Klingon Empire had an intelligence agency.
Let me let you in on a little secret, Mirthrin. The reason you never hear about Klingon intelligence is because they're just that damn good.
Huh.
Yeah, not so much.
I mean, Mirthrin's convinced, but... Well, you got me interested now.
Well, it involves, from what I understand, it involves a defecting Klingon from a rather powerful house, and it's your job to ensure that this defector is able to speak to the Klingon High Council and reveal the heinous dealings of the house that they are betraying.
Ah, I see.
But if you're interested, I could certainly book us some holodeck time.
Sounds interesting. Unless you had plans later on, Bertrand says, like looking between Locke and Shatsu.
Shatsu looks to Locke.
Sure. I'm interested. I'm happy to join you in some holodeck time.
Right. Excellent. Maybe we can pool our shore leave allowances and book a decent chunk of holodeck time.
All right. So we shift slightly over to Drake because I think Drake is here. So, besides obviously seeing Q, here and gone, does Drake do anything to that effect, or?
No, just the little bit of an emote that I did in chat, but no, nothing like that. He actually seems to be more intent on the shifting conversations between the two captains, and then Mercer, Locke, and Shatsu.
Okay. I would say that it's not that hard, you being former intelligence, or I guess you're still active intelligence. It's not that hard for you to, use your training to pick up on the conversations. Interestingly, it does seem that both groups are talking about the same holodeck program. And doing a little bit more listening, I would say that they're not the only ones interested in this program. It definitely feels, just listening in on conversations, like this is the new, latest, and greatest sort of holonovel that's out there.
Okay. I'll kind of move over to their table.
Okay.
Or at least stand up and walk over there anyways. So I hear you guys talking about this holonovel that it seems everybody else is talking about.
Well, talking about that and Klingon intelligence, mostly mockingly.
Oh, yeah. Those guys.
Do they have any move other than altering their people, their spies, to look like humans and then sending them in?
Uh,
Yeah, that one almost worked.
Well,
Not
it didn't work with the Discovery. It didn't work with the Tribble thing both times. They learn a new strategy, guys.
yeah, not usually, other than just out and out intimidation. They're pretty good interrogators. Yeah, other than that, not really much else. So if the stories are true and that's what the basis of this novel is, then somebody's taking some real license. So I take it the crew is going to try this novel out.
Oh,
I
three
guess
of us
so.
at least.
How many players, characters is it? Is it a one person or is it a group?
Shatu thinks for a moment and says, I think it can pretty much accommodate up to 6 people, but I do hear that it is also suitable for a single person.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, we do have lots of shore leave, and if we work as a group, I'm sure we can reserve the holodeck for longer by scheduling in succession.
True, or whoever's in charge of it, I can go have a word with them, but I think we can.
All right. So we shift again slightly over to Skull's conversation. And Leax at this point is probably a little bit tipsy. And understandably, he just kind of gets straight to the point and says, So, Skull, I know you have a thing for enduring women, but how do you feel about Ariana?
I glance back wherever she is currently. She is very easy on the eyes. How do you know each other?
Ah, well.
Sorry. I'm still using my Prague voice. There we go.
Drag in your throat.
Phrasing. He says, she actually was one of the bartenders at Earth Space Dock, and during my first command, I passed on through, and we just sort of got to talking.
Why do I get the feeling that talking is the least that you did?
Oh, no, don't worry. Endorians aren't my type.
She's just sponsored one through the Science Academy, and all of a sudden, she's very easy on the eyes. I do like blue.
Yes, blue is a very aesthetic color. But I ask, because I hear she's got a twin sister.
What are you insinuating, Captain?
I don't know, maybe it's the drink talking, but I hear good things come in pairs.
That they do, Captain. That they do. What makes you think that she would be interested in such a thing?
Well, she called you honey. She normally doesn't do that unless she finds you interesting.
Well, they say captaincy is a lonely life. I might be interested, but I am also in a bit of a long-distance relationship at the moment.
Raises an eyebrow at you and says, You are? With who?
I'm not at liberty to say. Starfleet intelligence reasons.
Oh, one of those, eh?
Yeah, one of those.
Well, I'm sure whoever he or she or anything in between might be, I'm sure they're a lucky individual.
I like to think so.
So tell
like
me
to
more
think so.
about this conference you went to. I know you probably can't talk a whole lot about it, but what are the bug things going to end up doing?
Your guess is as good as mine. Their current offer on the table is to provide in is to turn a lot of their is to keep every alliance or every alliance informed of any potentially hostile activity that's happening beyond the Sabine Expanse that could impact all of us equally. However, they've also agreed to a major level of confidentiality. They're hopefully not going to tell the Romulans what they've learned about the Klingons, and they're not going to tell us about either power, etc., etc., etc. And you'd better believe that each party's has other ambassadors going in trying to change their mind. They're trying to stay as aggressively neutral as possible, I think. Honestly, as much as I love their technology, I think that's for the best. If what we experienced on in that conflict in our recent skirmish has yielded, we're not ready for that sort of technology.
Well, suppose that's going to be a hotbed of conversation and activity in the coming days.
Yes. You know the worst of it? They probably know what Breen looked like out of their uniforms, and they're not telling us.
Well, I have a theory on that. And that's where he kind of goes into a long ramble. And I think what we'll do is we'll take our break here, and we'll come back and we'll play a little bit of a holodeck episode, and then introducing a little bit of plot. So be back
plot.
by no later than 4:15 p.m. Eastern daily. All right, BRB, guys. All right, I'm back, and this is the part where I talk to the stream. So, of course, thank you guys for all the following, all the subs, all the bits, etc., etc. I did want to say that I appreciate you guys watching, whether it's live or on YouTube. I always like sharing my little bits of story that I come up with to lots of people. I like being a storyteller, so it's always neat to share my stories. The one thing I will say, if you don't mind a little bit of shilling, is that remember, Twitch Prime is included with Amazon Prime, and it's very easy. You get a free sub every month that you can give to a channel of your choice, and it is something that you do have to refresh at the end of every month. For some reason, they didn't think to make it sort of just stick with the channel, but this is Amazon and Twitch we're talking about. Sometimes they make odd decisions. The other thing I would say is that, again, we are looking for another player for Ophion. So if you hop into our Discord, you check out my Twitter, or if you go to the Star Trek Adventures subreddit, there should be a application link. It's a Google form and should walk you through applying. I not really taking first come first serve. I'm trying to find a good fit for these guys, so don't feel disheartened if you apply and you don't hear anything from me. I would say that probably the best way to make yourself stand out in the app is to not be afraid to go into detail, if that makes any sense. I do like seeing sort of forethought in the application. Other than that, that's all I really have to say to the stream. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll get back to it in about 5-6 minutes. All right, I'm back. Is anyone here? Looks like everyone's muted.
I'm here.
Hey,
I'm technically back, but I'm eating, so muted.
I gotcha. So let's see. Those 4 going. Guess I can use this time to set up maps. Yeah, this is actually going better than I thought. We're quote unquote on time to cover everything I wanted to cover, so that's good.
Yeah, I think having the time to actually prep and think of the RP we want to do, really helps.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where I feel like we're about to enter into a new arc with what I have planned. So this sort of downtime really, I don't want to say might be the only chance at development, because obviously you can develop a character at any point during the RP, but it's one of those things where the less, maybe not less, maybe more social of things, this is, a good opportunity for that. So and yeah, I think it's probably no surprise to Panek, but I do believe that your betrothed is pretty much going to stick to DSD.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, teaching's nice and all, but you don't really get to further progress the stuff you're working on.
Right. And I think that, I'm not going to be an evil dick and, do anything that would, like outright kill her or anything like that, like you might see in D&D all the time. But, I figure her being around might be a good way to pass along information that isn't necessarily coming through the Starfleet chain of command. Unless you want to go to Zaix or one of the other bartenders and see if you can set up like a Quark situation.
There's many avenues. Having many choices to, gather information and stuff is good.
Yeah, certainly can't hurt. All right, let's see. All right, we've got about 3 more
I'm
minutes.
back.
Oh, welcome back, Marthrin. How you doing?
Pretty good.
All right.
Just tossing up whether I want to try and have a 1-hour power nap after the session or just power through to the magic.
I honestly have no advice. Mostly because my naps tend to be 2 to 3 hour affairs.
Well, I'll see how tired I feel after the session, because I'm on the 4-week stretch where I haven't just come straight off work, so I have a little more energy.
Gotcha. Oh, you know what? There was one thing I forgot to mention at the top of the stream. But I guess I can say that now since we're waiting anyway. So, obviously, I have been assembling materials and sort of teasing a Wrath and Glory campaign. And I say this both for the benefit of anyone listening and for anyone who might watch in the future. Those unaware, Wrath and Glory is the newest Warhammer 40k RPG. It is technically coming out like people get their hands on books at Gen Con, which is next week. And my understanding is that we get the PDFs, or at least pre-orders like me get the PDFs the following week. So after I get a good handle of the system, or at least enough to run a session or two, I'm going to start putting out feelers and application links for the Wrath and Glory campaign I want to run. I don't really have a day yet. I'm thinking Wednesday evenings. But again, that's sort of an open invitation to anyone interested. Of course, since I will be new to the system, well, everyone will be new to the system, there won't be too much requirements. Some knowledge of 40K would be preferable, but it's not going to be a deal breaker if you only sort of have a skimming or a very basic understanding.
And to be fair, the average Imperial citizen probably has a worse understanding of the universe than you do.
Exactly. And I think the one thing I'll tease is that I am thinking of doing a Harlocked theme campaign. But again, more on that later as I flesh things out and, information comes in.
Where do you find the time?
Well, I work from home, so that helps. I also just sort of work, well, I don't so much work late hours as so much I have a lot of free time at night. So, while I'm waiting for, scripts to come in, or I'm waiting for something to break and then I've got to fix it, that, I've just got free time to work on whatever. But yeah, looks like we are done with our 10 minutes, so let's go ahead and resume. I think enough people are here that we can get into things. The quartet of you, Locke, Murthrin, Drake, and Shatsu, the four of you go to one of the holo suites. It's actually very easy to, book some holodeck time, mostly because A, the Ophion and the Formidable crew are being given preference, and B, because no one actually seems to be using the holodeck at that given moment when you go to talk to them. So, you all kind of just step inside the holo suite, and the computer just chimes and says, "Please enter program when ready."
Which one of us actually has the program?
Which should be saved, right? What's it actually officially called?
Ah, yes. And Shatsu clears her throat and says, "Computer, please start program from Kronos with love." And the environment shifts as I switch us to our new Theater of the Mind map. I'll zoom it out so the stream can actually see it. Yes, that is a horrible Photoshop, but it works. So, as you might guess, this is very much a Klingon James Bond style thing. So, immediately what happens is the environment around you in the holosuite shifts and changes to a dark night, and you find yourselves in the Klingon High Command Chamber. There's no one else in there except for one elder Klingon who is currently sitting on the sort of main chair where the Chancellor would sit. And I would say the four of you are all in Klingon, standard armor at this point, except for whichever one of you wants to play the lead.
Good question.
Who's playing the lead, guys? Maybe we should discuss this before we entered the holodeck.
Murthrin will volunteer if no one else does.
Okay. So you are going to be playing Joltol Rog, who is totally not just James Bond in Klingon. So I would say different from the others. You have on what looks to be the equivalent of a Klingon battle garb, and by that I mean it's the sort of overcoat with a belt, or I guess you would call it a scarf of some sort that's sort of draped over your neck. You have several decaying daggers along your belt, and you also feel on your back that there is a collapsing bat'leth that you could pull out at any moment.
Alrighty.
But yeah, the program just sort of seems to be waiting for you guys to approach the Klingon that is in the High Commander's chair.
Right, so Matherin will sort of look at the other and say, all right, when we're ready. And take a step forward, arms crossed.
Okay. So as you step literally one step closer, the head of the Klingon rolls off and just tumbles over the floor towards you. And you see that the expression on this Klingon's face is one of surprise. And it is at that moment that Klingons, armored Klingons, come pouring into the hall wielding disruptors. And they sort of circle the four of you. And they don't fire yet. They just sort of, keep their disruptors trained on you. And there's a sort of slow clap in the background. And you hear the voice of a man that would be instantly recognizable for, I think, at least Locke and for Drake. Did I not write down his first name? Offhand, does anyone remember Duras's son?
No.
I am furiously Googling.
Yeah,
I remember Duras. He's the guy who stares in Klingon.
Toral, son of Duras.
Yeah, that might be him. Let's double check though, so I'm saying the right thing. Toral.
That's what I'm getting is Toral, Toral.
That's him. Yes, that's who I meant. Yes, so Toral sort of does a... Well, Mr. Rog, I didn't think you would be foolish enough to return here.
Elbow Mithrin. That's you.
Yep. Oh, right. Yes. Well, you know what they say, time makes fools of us all.
So, I think it's pretty clear. We've got you pinned for the murder of our Chancellor here. I don't think you're going to be able to weasel your way out of this one.
Looking around, are there any sort of obvious, escape routes?
So, I'm going to say that because this is a not James Bond film, you would notice that normally in the High Command's chambers, there are sort of these large banners that are kind of lining the hall. You notice that they appear to be a little bit less sturdy. Like, all it would take is a small impact about where the banners connect with whatever, they're hanging on. Excuse me. To knock the banners loose. And these banners are big enough that it would be the equivalent of draping a large tarp over whatever they fall on.
Alrighty. So, sort of, Merthin will sort of a side whisper to the others. When you see my signal, go for one of the banners. And turning back to Toral, we'll go, yes, indeed, very bad for me, but I have to wonder, what's my... what benefit is it to me to slay the High Chancellor?
I'm sure someone will think of something, but all that matters is that you're out of the way and out of my plans.
Oh, Taral, you're a cunning one, but you've made a fatal mistake this day. You see, there's one thing you never put in a trap.
And what's that, Mr. Rog?
If you have any plans of seeing tomorrow, if you value your continued existence, there's one thing you never ever put in a trap, and that is Jolto Rog. And he takes out the collapsible backlet and sort of boomerang throws it at one of the tops.
Okay, go ahead and roll me a control security, difficulty 2.
Well, hopefully this works.
And one would hope.
Shortest holodeck excursion of all time.
Let's see, we don't have any momentum, so I'll spend threat to get an extra die.
Okay.
Nope, no applicable focuses here.
Oh dear. Hey, you get the two you needed. That's all that matters. So yeah, in a very
I'm not a badass, but I play one on the holodeck.
yeah, in a very Bond-like fashion, you kind of throw the batleth in the air, and as it soars through the air, it kind of I guess springs into full gear and turns into a literal boomerang batleth, and just slices the banners along the left side off, and the banners all fall and cover the multitude of Klingons that are surrounding you on the left side. It still leaves the right side though. And that's where I'm going to ask if Drake or Locke has anything that they were preparing to do on the signal.
Is there anything else around us that could also be thrown?
I would say you would find on your persons that you have... Oops, excuse me. Sorry about that. That jet snuck up on me. I would say that you have... not necessarily a collapsing batleth like Rog does, but you would have a throwable dagger of some sort.
Okay. I will huck said dagger at one of the banners.
Okay, yep, another control security. Difficulty 2.
I might be okay at those.
I would hope, being the tactical officer.
Ooh. How about as an applicable focus, improvisation?
Sure. Hey, you get the two you needed. So, in a masterful display of marksmanship, you kind of fling out the dagger and it cuts off another banner which drapes the right side. And at this moment, you just sort of see the Klingons around you flailing, trying to get this banner off of you or off of them, but you are able to escape at this current moment.
Run for it!
Peace out, we got priors?
Basically.
So the four of you very quickly brush past or push your way through whatever flailing forms of the would-be assailants, and you make your way outside, and waiting for you is... oh, go ahead.
On our way out, can I either retrieve a dagger, my dagger, and possibly the collapsible batlift to give it back to, our main character?
Oh, I would say the boomerang acted as a boomerang and came back to him.
Okay.
It's
but I would
drawn by
say...
a magnet onto his wrist sheath.
I would say you could easily pick up another dagger, no problem.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So, that happens on the way out, and waiting for you outside in whatever the equivalent of a Klingon car would be, there is a female Klingon in what appear to be those sort of priestly robes. We see, the name of the moon is slipping my mind, but the one where, Worf goes to the moon and Kalis comes back, those sorts of robes. And she just kind of shouts, like, get in, we gotta go.
Yep.
Dive into the car.
All
right, so you all jump into the car, and Rusvep, as would be something you would have been told about, Rusvep speeds away and she says, Rog, what the hell were you thinking?
I had to be sure.
You do know what this means, right? If we don't get, if we don't get myself to a broadcasting center right away, then Duras will soon control the High Council.
I think it might be a little too late for that already. There's only one thing for us to do, and out of character, I'm assuming I know the vague sort of synopsis, so I know what we're meant to do next.
Yeah, you do. I can say that you can either make that up or I can tell you one. I'll leave that up to you.
No, they'll have agents out looking for us before we get anywhere near the broadcast tower. No, what we need to do now is go to our old friend.
You don't mean Q?
I do.
All right. Well, guess we need to go this way then. And with a screeching, or whatever the equivalent of screeching tires, she takes a sharp turn, and the holodeck shifts again. And this time you all find yourselves in what would be the equivalent of a Klingon Q's lab. And by Q, I mean like Bond Q, not QQ. And there is a Klingon gentleman, wizened.
So, I totally didn't read in the synopsis. Were we meant to have killed the Chancellor, or were we being framed for this?
We've been framed.
Yes, you've been
Okay. That's what I get for not reading the ahead of the backstory.
Yeah, no, we've been framed for the murder, and now we have to clear our name while stopping Duras. Or is it Duras or Dural?
Duras.
But,
Well, Dural, but Dural is son of Duras, so...
okay, cool. And we have... Yeah, we've been framed for the Chancellor's murder, and now we need to clear our name while also stopping Duras from taking over the Empire.
Mm-hmm. And as I was saying before a jet interrupted me, there is a wizened Klingon in there, very long white hair, very prominent ridges, and he is currently working on what appears to be a compact disruptor. And when you all kind of come in, he turns and says, "Ah, Rog, news has spread fast. I understand that you killed the Chancellor." And he smiles in a very Klingon way.
A surprising development, to be sure, especially to me.
Well, I take it you want some of my famous gadgets then.
Yes, Duras has started to move, and we need to keep one step ahead of him.
Well, that should be easy with this. And he walks in over, turns on a light, and again, in very Q fashion, a sort of a suit lights up and says, "With this stealth suit, you'll be able to get right up next to him, and he'll never see you coming. You see, it utilizes a 1.21 gigawatt cloaking field."
Oh, hang on, my notepad is playing up.
What's the duration of the cloaking fields?
It'll last for you, or it'll last about 2 minutes, which is more than enough to sneak up behind the coward Toral and stab him through the back.
Yes, that'll be good enough to actually get there. But I have a feeling that we're going to have to be careful about how we do this. Simply assassinating him before he takes the throne will throw the Empire into chaos. We're going to need something to prove his treachery.
Well, fortunately, I don't have anything like that here, but this might help. He goes over to another desk or a workbench, and on it you see that there is a tribble-looking thing. And he picks it up and shows it to you and says, "I know what you're thinking. This looks like a tribble, our mortal enemy. But really, it's a listening device." And he kind of cracks the tribble open like you would a loaf of bread. And inside, you see that it's hinged, so he didn't just break his little toy. But you see inside the fake tribble, there is a rather compact listening device. And even to your non-trained eye, Mirthrin would at least pick up that there is a small amount of explosive inside.
Going with the classics, are we?
I mean, if there's one thing that you can be sure of, it's that scum like this, and he, puts the not tribble back together, is easily overlooked.
Especially if it stays quiet.
Indeed. Oh, and it also doubles as an explosive device should someone pick it up you want dead.
Good to know. And I'll pass that off to one of the others.
Locke takes it and rolls his eyes. I never get the gadgets just right.
Right. I think the next most important thing is we need to figure out how Duras pulled this off. So I think we're going to need to pull some sort of raid on one of his apartments, see if we can find any paper trails.
All right. And we're going to shift scenes in media race, actually. While you say that, we shift to the captain. And at this point, Captain, you have... let me find the bar again. There it is. You finished up your conversation with Leax. He has already left for the time being. I would say at this point, in the late hour, even though this is a 26-hour club, there's not a whole lot of people left in here. I think Panek and Debar are probably still there, just because Panek is being thorough and doing due diligence before he signs anything. But
especially with Ferengis, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Captain, as you sort of finish up your last drink, the entire station goes to red alert. And immediately your comm badge beeps and says, Admiral Thesso to Captain Skull.
Skull here, go ahead.
I need you to report to my office immediately.
Understood.
I'll make eyes with the captain.
Please report to Ophion, please, Commander. I'll be by shortly.
Very well, Commander. Tomorrow, I believe you can finish up here.
Yes, of course. And yeah, you make your way to the Admiral's office. And when you arrive, you see that Thesso looks somewhat concerned. And he says, Captain, come, sit down. We don't have a whole lot of time to talk, but...
what's going on?
Are you at all familiar with the Arcadia?
Only from a few mission reports. I must admit I haven't followed their adventures too closely.
No, I don't mean Starfleet's Arcadia. I mean the alternate Arcadia.
No.
Well, let me bring you up to speed. And on that sort of monitor you see to the left, he pulls up an image. And on that image happens to be this. He says, not 5 minutes ago, one of our long-range listening posts in the Sabine Expanse was able to snap this picture. And we believe it is the Arcadia. Now, you are familiar with mirror universes, yes? You've been to a few yourself.
Yes, I'm familiar with them.
Well, let's just say that this Arcadia comes from a universe that is not exactly like our own.
Very, very well. What do we know about this Arcadia?
Well, it is run by a captain known as Harlock. His goal, from what we've been able to tell, what little interaction we've had with them, ironically, it was the Starfleet Arcadia which made first contact with this Arcadia. From what we've been able to tell, Harlock's goal is to, I guess, destroy the universe would be the best way to describe it.
That's not very copacetic to Starfleet values, sir.
No, that's exactly why we need someone, preferably you and your crew, to head out in that direction and try to either rendezvous with the Arcadia and or possibly prevent any actions they might be taking which would lead to wanton destruction.
Sir, our ship is not combat ready.
I know. That's what makes this a difficult decision. How much... Not how much. How capable do you think the Ophion will be if you were to depart now?
Well, two of three sections are functioning at as close to 100% as possible. There's some relinking issues, unless those have been fixed in the last day. I would say that we're roughly about 75% capable.
That might have to be enough.
All right. I'm afraid that picture isn't showing much for scale, sir. How large is this Arcadia?
It is a kilometer long, about 300 across, 300 deep.
Very well. And what is the status of the Formidable, sir?
That was actually the other sort of option. The Formidable's repairs have, to my knowledge, actually have proceeded far beyond the expected schedule. You do have the option of passing the buck to Captain Leax, but I could also give you the option of temporarily taking command of the Formidable while Leax oversees repairs of the Ophion.
Tempting, sir, but I'm not one to willingly I'm not one to yank the captain's rug out from under them. I would rather the same not happen to me. I'll take the Ophion. We'll scout out best we can. We'll handle the threat if possible. If not, we shall provide as much intel as we can.
Wonderful. And just so you know, Captain, everything we just discussed is on a need-to-know basis. I will trust that you have some discretion about who you tell about the Arcadia. Just know that the less people that know about it, the better.
Understood, sir.
Also, one last thing is that I am hereby unlocking the Arcadia, Starfleet Arcadia, the Arcadia's logs of their first encounter with Harlock's ship, and you are free to, again, peruse and disseminate that information on a need-to-know basis.
Thank you, sir. We'll take as much any information is preferred to less.
Well then, I believe you have your orders. Godspeed, Captain.
As I leave the admiral's office, Skull to Panek.
Thank you, Captain.
Shore leave is cancelled. Please recall everyone. We have work to do. I'll
Very
prepare
well.
a briefing shortly.
I will gather the senior staff.
All right. So, as everybody comes back from shore leave, I think what I want to do is I want to end the episode here so we can start the next session with a briefing, and that'll give me time to write up a little thing for Skull to read off, so it's just not like, yeah, what the GM said.
Well, Locke, what awesome spy thing do you want you and Shatsu to be doing when the call comes in?
Yeah, that's the other question is, was there any sort of spy thing you wanted to be doing when it comes in?
We're in the middle of a car chase. Just weaving in and out and like through the building, through buildings while things are getting shot.
And like Locke driving like a madman while Shatsu leans out the window and fires back.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
Shatsu and I shooting backwards, and when we get the call, like, Drake will actually look sad and go, I've always wanted to be in a car chase.
Yeah, Murthrin's sort of flying over the city in a tiny 2-meter-long bird of prey.
And then Panek walks into it and is like standing perfectly still while like all the scenery is just like whipping by at high speed. Not part of the program.
Oh, God. That's great. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for the session. Of course, stick around for a little bit longer, but to anyone watching on YouTube or Twitch, again, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you had a good time, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.